to have this whole life thing figured out before you even really know who you are. So this profound story we're going to look at today originally comes from an incredible YouTube channel called Holy Word Explained, and we've actually put a link to their original content right down below. I really want you to listen closely to this because it honestly changes how we look at the absolute hardest parts of life. It's a story about the unseen, about the moments when everything just seems to fall apart, and about what is actually happening out there in the dark. Look, I know what it feels like to look ahead and just see a completely dark horizon. When you're a teenager, you are constantly stepping into the unknown. Maybe you're facing a massive change at school or shifting friendships, or maybe you're looking at graduation and the pressure of what comes next is literally paralyzing. You might feel like you're wandering out in this massive, dark field without any sort of map. And you know what? It is perfectly normal to be afraid of that. But I want you to take a second and reflect on your own dark fields right now. Think about the things that are keeping you up at night. Because as we walk through this story together, you're going to discover that the dark horizon you were so deeply afraid of is actually the exact place where heaven leans in the closest. Okay, let's dive into this by completely changing how you picture angels. Because when we talk about heaven leaning in, you probably immediately picture the Christmas card version, right? You know, the soft white wings, gentle faces, flowing robes. Maybe they're floating beautifully above a manger playing a little golden harp. Well, actually, scratch that. I need you to forget all of that right now. You have to totally strip away those greeting card myths if you want to understand what's really happening in your life. The angels we actually see in this historical record, they are not soft, floating background characters holding up welcoming banners. No way. They are active, fierce, breathtaking agents of God. They possess this immense, awe-inspiring power, and they carry out specific, divine assignments that violently alter the course of human history and actively protect those who are wandering in the dark. Let's look at the very first time they show up. The first angels in the Bible aren't carrying a comforting, gentle message. They're guards. After Adam and Eve are expelled from the Garden of Eden, humanity's horizon went completely dark for the very first time. There was utter despair. And God places the cherubim at the entrance to the garden. Picture this in your mind. They are armed with a flaming sword that turns in every single direction. The heat from it is intense. The light from it is absolutely blinding. This isn't some gentle spirit. This is a terrifying, overwhelming display of majesty. They are powerful markers of God's absolute presence, and their assignment was unmistakable. The way back in was violently and permanently closed. The gates were locked, and humanity was forced to transition out into the wilderness. But here is the truly beautiful part of the story, and I really want you to pay close attention to this shift. The cherubim didn't just stay as terrifying guards keeping broken humanity away. Fast forward to the book of Exodus, when God gives the specific design for the tabernacle, which was the place where he would physically dwell with his people. He commands that 2 golden cherubim be placed right on top of the Ark of the Covenant, covering what was called the mercy seat. Think about the profound meaning here. The very same creatures that barred the gates in Eden are now framing the exact place where atonement happens. It's like they transformed from guards into bridge builders between a holy God and a broken people. They mark the line of God's presence, showing that God was making a deliberate, loving way to bring humanity back to himself. And then we have the seraphim. The word itself brings a pretty incredible piece of history to life because it literally translates to the burning ones. In the prophet Isaiah's historic vision, he sees these creatures, and let me tell you, they are absolutely nothing like a glass Christmas ornament. Paint this mental picture. They are literal blazing fires, illuminating the entire room with an intensity that is hard to even comprehend. They have 6 wings, 2 to cover their faces because even they, in all their holy power, cannot look directly at the full, burning glory of God. 2 to cover their feet in an act of deep reverence, and 2 to fly. And they live for one singular, earth-shaking purpose, to shake the very foundations of the room, declaring the absolute holiness of God without ever, ever stopping. So when Isaiah saw this massive burning display, he was terrified. He completely fell apart. He thought he was entirely ruined because of his flaws, his mistakes, and his sins. He felt the absolute full weight of his unworthiness. But then, one of these blazing seraphim immediately flies directly to him. It isn't holding a flaming sword to strike him down in judgment, though. It's holding a live, burning coal taken straight from the altar. The angel touches the coal to Isaiah's lips and speaks this incredible promise. Your guilt is taken away. Your sin is atoned for. You see, these fierce beings use that intense, burning fire to actively burn away the sin and heal us from the inside out. In the story, holiness and cleansing aren't opposites. They're the exact same act of profound love. And it's not just about cleansing. It's about fierce protection in the dark. Let's talk about the warrior, Michael.
In the historical account of Daniel, we see Daniel praying and fasting in immense distress for 3 full weeks. 21 days of hearing absolutely nothing but agonizing, empty silence. Imagine that wait. When an angel finally breaks through, he tells Daniel something that entirely pulls back the curtain on the universe. He says, "I heard your prayer on the very first day, the absolute moment you spoke, but I was delayed." The angel was fought by a demonic power so strong that he couldn't break through until Michael, the warrior archangel, came to fight beside him for those entire 21 days. In the unseen realm, fierce, violent battles rage just to answer your lonely prayers in the dark. I want to pause the history lesson for a second and just ask you this directly. Have you ever felt like that? Like you're standing in a completely dark field, shouting into the empty void, and you are entirely painfully alone? Have you ever prayed for something, or just cried out for help because your life was changing so incredibly fast, the pressure was crushing you, and all you got was a 21-day silence? It is so incredibly easy to think you are completely abandoned in those moments of deep isolation. You feel like the sky is made of brass and literally no one is listening. But the story we are looking at today tells us something entirely different. Now, what's really interesting about this is the pattern in these historical records. Think about when these heavenly encounters actually happen. Hagar is completely alone, desperate, and weeping in the unforgiving wilderness. Abraham has a knife raised, and the long-awaited promise of his family is about to tragically die. Moses has been wandering for 40 long years, totally lost in the massive desert, his old life and his old identity completely gone. Angels do not show up during routine, easy days. They don't appear when you have everything perfectly figured out, when your grades are great, your friendships are rock solid, and your life is just coasting on comfortable autopilot. They just don't visit the comfortable. This is the core, profound truth of the entire historical record we're looking at today. Every angel in the Bible is sent at a moment of transition, not stability. I want to let that sink in for a second. They appear precisely when the horizon goes pitch black, when the wilderness sets in, when the prayer seems completely unanswered, when the bottom falls out of your world and you have absolutely no idea what comes next, when you feel the most lost. That isn't the moment God has forgotten you. That is historically the exact environment where God steps in to guide you to exactly where you are supposed to be. You can almost think of angels as the ultimate bridge builders between heaven and earth. They're like sudden flares of starlight breaking through the absolute pitch black of night. I mean, think about it. You don't see stars at noon, right? The sky is way too bright, the day is too loud. You only see the stars when the sun goes down, the temperature drops, and the world goes completely dark and cold. When you're looking up at a dark sky, it's only because it is so incredibly dark that you can see the stars so brilliantly. These angelic encounters throughout the stories signal that heaven is actively breaking into earth, connecting the invisible world of God's care to the very physical, painful world of your human struggle. And hey, if you need ultimate proof of this, look at the life of Jesus himself. During his 3 years of highly successful public ministry, when the massive crowds were cheering his name and all these incredible miracles were happening in the bright daylight, you don't see the angels surrounding him. He saw them only in the dark. An angel physically strengthened him during his terrifying, sweat-inducing agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. Angels sat in the cold, dark, empty tomb after the crucifixion. Angels stood by at the ascension as he left the earth and transitioned back to heaven. Even Jesus experienced this heavenly starlight specifically and almost exclusively during the most terrifying and uncertain transitions of his time on earth. So the crucial point is this, and I really want you to hear this loud and clear, as if I were speaking to my own children sitting right in front of me. You are not abandoned in your transition. You are being attended to. When you're losing friends, when you're failing a class, when your family is going through a terrible season, or when growing up just feels impossibly heavy, those painful life changes are actually transitions toward God's much greater purpose for you. The crushing silence you hear doesn't mean absence. It means the unseen realm is actively fighting and moving on your behalf, building a bridge to your very next chapter. I want to leave you with this final thought to carry with you as you navigate the rest of your week. When you look out at those dark, terrifying horizons we talked about at the very beginning, don't just see the darkness. Don't let the fear win. Ask yourself this: what if the darkness you are walking through right now is just the beautifully set stage for your own starlight? What if this incredibly difficult transition is the exact environment where divine intervention happens in your life? Keep walking forward, even in the dark, because heaven is paying incredibly close attention to you.